Over the past decade plus, so many fans have seen their favorite franchises be destroyed in front of their very eyes by modern day Hollywood. Often it's an effort to say, well, screw the old fans, we're looking for a new group of fans, or for the insertion of some sort of DEI in some way, shape, or form. And one of the franchises that has received a lot of pressure to bend the knee to that type of thing has certainly been the James Bond franchise. And when you look at the Daniel Craig era, a lot of longtime fans of the James Bond movies have had several complaints about not only the depiction of the character, but especially in the last entry in the James Bond saga, the things they decided to do. A James Bond for the Me Too era. And of course, when you have a character who is white, male, and straight, there's been a lot of pressure by activists to change that. When Amazon bought MGM, one of the things that they acquired 3 years ago were also the rights to the James Bond movies, and that certainly put people on high alert. But now today, it looks like this is a major stepping point for Amazon to do whatever the hell they want to this character and this franchise. James Bond shakeup, Amazon takes creative control of franchise from Broccoli family in New Deal. The studio will take the reins for the 60-year-old movie property, while Michael Wilson and Barbara Broccoli will remain co-owners as they move to the sidelines as part of a joint venture transaction. Now, the Broccoli family has had the creative control for James Bond movies since the very beginning, since these first Eon productions were happening. And they have remained in control 65 years later or whatever it is since Dr. No was released. And one of the things that they have very much pushed against is viewing James Bond as some sort of content mill for Amazon. In fact, a couple months ago, we saw this. James Bond producer has furious two-word retort over future direction of 007 movies. And that two-word retort was Amazon, they're fucking idiots. That's what they are. And specifically, the reason so much of this happened was because of what Amazon wanted to use the franchise as. Essentially, instead of taking James Bond, this theatrical experience, 25 movies, I think 25 officially from Eon, over 65 years, 63 or 64 years, whatever it is, right? They wanted to turn that into a content mill, streaming series, spin-off shows, prequels, sequels, all of this stuff. And Barbara Broccoli and the people that were in charge are like, what the fuck do you want to do? No, you can't do that. This is James Bond. We want to maintain the integrity. We want to continue to make it special theatrical releases. During negotiations for the deal, Amazon committed to debuting Bond films in theaters first rather than on streaming. But when executives suggested bringing Bond into the Amazon universe with something like a TV show, a spin-off for Moneypenny, or even a female 007 series, Barbara Broccoli's response was often said to be the same. Did you read the contract? And then apparently they got very upset. During one meeting, she was apparently offended when an executive referred to Bond as content. Well, now that we're here, now that Amazon has full creative control, that's exactly what is going to happen. Now, you can like the Daniel Craig movies. You can dislike the Daniel Craig movies. I think Casino Royale was awesome. And then I think they really lost their way. They tried to make these movies too much like Jason Bourne movies in general. They did not nail the character of James Bond. They tried to change him for a modern era. It didn't work, right? I think in all likelihood, we might very well see more of that from Amazon now that they have full creative control. But to me, I think regardless of that, regardless if you think they're going to lean even more into identity politics than they did before, regardless if you think, oh, well, Daniel Craig already destroyed James Bond, those movies were the biggest financial movies they'd ever seen in terms of at the box office by a big margin. I think the bigger problem, the guaranteed problem, now that Amazon has full creative control, is the idea that it's going to be turned into a content mill. You're going to see Moneypenny spinoffs. You're going to see a Q origin story. You're going to see a bunch of different things. You're going to see the Bond cinematic universe. And you know what? You might like a couple people might like the idea of that. Yeah, more James Bond content. That'll be cool. But what it's going to do is the same thing it's done to a lot of these other properties. It's going to make it far less special. It's going to make it far less of an event. And Bond is a theatrical event. It still is. Despite the bad taste that the end of the Daniel Craig era left in people's mouths, it still is that. This is not a franchise that is impossible to save or impossible to bring back with the right casting choice and the right people in charge. But if you turn into, twice a year, we're going to have some Bond-related MI6 spinoff, a 006 spinoff, a 008 spinoff, whatever, with James Bond making cameos. I think that is what's going to truly destroy this franchise. And I mean, I did think this is the first thing that came to mind. I thought it was a good joke. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to DEI. But truly, what I said in the follow-up about the content itself and them turning it into a content mill, that is, I think, going to do huge, huge damage to this property. Is Bond still going to be straight, white, and male? The odds probably are yes for now. The next Bond, probably, even though I'm sure they'd love to do something. They'd love to race swap. They'd love to gender swap. But I think there might be so much pushback on that now they'd be afraid to, at least in the first recast that Amazon officially has control over. But this could very much be a Wheel of Time or Lord of the Rings situation for a studio like Amazon. Now, I do think they have good stuff out there. I think Reacher is really good. Terminal List, the first season of Terminal List was very good. Those are great adaptations from that source material. So sometimes it might depend on who's going to run the show, but I think the best you can hope for is that they do cast a white, straight, male James Bond and move forward with that. But I think it is inevitable at this point that Amazon is going to do exactly what they said they would do. They're going to turn it into a content mill. And I just think that's a sad state of affairs for the James Bond franchise. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.